Okay, so in 2009, Brandy Norwood is the dark-skinned woman who played on Moesha for a couple seasons, from 1996 to 2001. And I actually remember watching that show growing up in the 1990s. I was only a child in the 1990s. I mean, I remember watching it with my family, but I wasn't really into the show. It's really about, I mean, it's something that most males can't really relate. Because we have different views. Most males can't relate to female problems, and most women can't relate to male problems. The show was about an African-American girl, teenager, 16, 17 years old, and her everyday life. And I guess when the show ended, she was in her early 20s. So I would say 60s. She was about 21 when the show ended. So I say from 16, you see the young girl's life from ages 16 to 21, and we see her everyday friends, Niecy, and Kim, whatever it is. She has a short, chubby friend, and a other friend who's very attractive black friend. So her father, her little annoying black brother, is basically an African-American family sitcom about a teenage girl's life. I mean, there weren't many shows in 1990s, even now, about black girls' life. And it was actually, she was skinny, she was pretty, braids, long braids, dark skin. Also, but none of that, it was a good show. But in 2006, about 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, I was about 15 years old. She was driving the car, not paying attention. She was speeding, listening to loud music. She was a multimillionaire, famous, young or late 20s, I think. She was speeding and she wasn't paying attention. Somebody came out and she crashed into that person. That person died. So she killed the guy, a person, lost her life because she wasn't paying attention. She was speeding in her car. And for years, she suffered from depression. She was staying in the house for months. She wouldn't come out the house. She finally got over the depression a couple years ago. But she didn't go to prison for it. Manslaughter. I think it was a guy, and it was horrible. The family won a couple $1 million, but it's still sad. They lost a parent, and she kind of lost her mind a little bit because she kind of fell into real depression. We know Brandy Norwood was an R&B singer in the 1990s with The Boy Is Mine with Monica. I remember her, man, back in 1998, 1999, 1997. She was so famous, and it was very uncommon for dark-skinned girls to have that kind of fame and fortune. But to see a teenager so young, 17, 18 years old, making millions, and white people love their music, black people, being an influential person for people all over the world, for millions of people, selling albums. I remember how popular she was. She's not as popular as she was now, as she was back in the 1990s, but that happens. But yeah, she did get into a car accident in 2006. Nobody talks about it. They kind of swept it under the rug. But she was very popular in the night. I remember her fame and fortune in the 1990s. But in 2006, her whole life changed. She didn't go to prison. Had she not been famous, she would have probably been spending her whole life in jail for it, But because she's famous, she got money, and she's a woman, a black woman, she got off easy. But if a black guy had did this, and if a black guy had did this, he'd be spending 20, 30 years in jail. He'll still be doing time for what he did. But she's a black woman. She's famous. She got off easy. Mr. J here. Peace.